Okay, it's Friday. Do you know where your trucks are? Do you know where the freight is? Do you know where anything is? Do you know what you're doing? Yeah, we'll talk about it. Stay tuned. 1 minute. Just give us 1 minute. Ah, yes. Good morning. It is Wednesday. I'm dumb. It's Friday. But some of you are like, what? Friday. It's Friday, May 17th. And we're getting strong into the second quarter of the year. And let me make a couple adjustments here, and that way we don't have any issues. So, anyways, good morning. Hope all is well. Just kind of, I got on the computer a little bit early today. I was checking out logbook stuff and was checking out rates and trying to make a decision on what I want to do next for the truck that I'm booking. He's supposed to be picking up in Joplin today, so that should go okay. Knock on wood. We've had such the worst luck with these shippers and receivers. And I'm not alone. There's a lot of drivers that are canceling loads because the customer took them too long. It's like you give yourself 4-hour window, right? So if your appointment is at noon, and then you get there at 11, you can assume that you can start booking stuff that will pick up after 2:00. Depending on the driving radius and all that. But a lot of these customers are like, nope, we're going to keep you. We don't care if you only got 6 pallets. We're going to keep you for 6 hours. That's an hour a pallet. So, I remember one time I was delivering a load of Legos to Toys R Us, back when Toys R Us was still a company. And a lot of SKUs, so the count on those loads were just through the roof. And I had a half a trailer. I forget. I think I picked them up in the Northeast. I was a company driver, and so finally, after about 6 hours, I walked into the receiver. I was like, "Look, man, my dispatcher says I gotta go. I mean, do you have any time frame that when this is going to get done?" And he was like, "Well, we can do subject to count. If you'll agree to that, then we'll let you go now. We'll just put it on the warehouse floor and we'll count it later." I'm like, why couldn't you have done that like 6 hours ago? I was so mad. That was a place that I almost got into it with the security guard. I pulled up, and of course I was green, So, I didn't, I wasn't perfect, nor have I ever been perfect. I know that's hard to believe, but I pulled up and it said, you need to pull up to the line. Well, I was like maybe that much over the line on my bumper. Nothing in front of me. I was not obscuring traffic by being that much over the line. And the security guard goes, driver, did you not read the sign? I go, sorry, security guard, I'm only over a little bit. That's not where you're supposed to be. You need to back up. Okay. So I backed up a little bit, and one of my friends was also checking in like a month later, and he almost got in a fight with the dude. And you could tell he's one of these security guards that just has a chip on his shoulder. He hates truck drivers. He's got this, like, he was a failed cop. So he probably, had this superiority complex going because, whatever. And they end up firing the guy because of how he was treating the drivers. But that's my memories of Toys R Us. The big giraffe, happy, blah, blah, blah. No, I see a lot of crap when I see a Toys R Us logo. So, anyways, it's like the subject account. Come on now, right? So, anyways, you don't want to hear about that kind of stuff. I forgot I was going with that. Man. Anyways, a lot of things to talk about today. I want to talk about LinkedIn. So I was getting on LinkedIn, and if you're not on LinkedIn, I think you're missing out a little bit, because it kind of puts you in a different circle. Like if you're a small carrier that desires to get direct shippers or direct customers, or just have good relationships with your brokers, I highly suggest LinkedIn. Now, I started a LinkedIn years and years ago, and I was going over this old email account that I barely check, and I went, oh man, I got a LinkedIn account, and it said so and so has looked at your profile, and so looked at your profile. I'm like, huh, why are people checking me out? That's really weird. And come to find out that these two people are now good friends, and they've helped support the channel, they've helped support me, they've helped support what we do. And it's really opened my eyes. So I updated my LinkedIn page, and what I found is that, there's a lot of inspirational stuff, a lot of business stuff. There's some selling on there, but what I have found is that it can become a valuable resource, and here's why. Because if you can get some brokers into your circle, you can kind of see what they're being told. You can see what they're being coached on. And a lot of them are saying, hey, man, you got to be prepared for DOT Blitz Week because your capacity is going to tighten a little bit. And these drivers that are running are going to demand more money. And sure enough, I saw the frustration over the last week. Now, DOT Blitz is over and ended yesterday, but I still think that there's still a lot of inspections going on. I did a little short about how it's the week before and the week after. And so that's important as well, right? But it was really interesting to see that they're like, hey man, you're gonna have a tough time this week. That's what the brokers were telling themselves. That's what the broker managers were telling the agents. Hey man, you're gonna have a tough time this week because a lot of trucks take the time off. And then also there's a lot of DOT pages from like Indiana, Illinois, Iowa that I watch on Facebook that were showing some of the inspections of what they were finding. DIY Semi had a picture of a trailer that the spring was hanging down, the shock. And I mean, that's just the nature. It's just the nature of the business, right? And so it's good to know the other side. It's good to know what's happening. It's good to know what you're up against. I mean, if you see the brokers as your enemy, then you're looking at it completely wrong. I mean, are there bad brokers out there? Yes, but there's also bad carriers. And And so just keep them. LinkedIn is a good way to communicate. LinkedIn is a good way to find those shippers. LinkedIn is a good way to solve problems, figure out what somebody's problem is. And like I said, if you don't have no desire, if you don't have any desire to go after direct freight, well, at least maybe you get in good with a broker that has that direct freight. And then that way you become their premier carrier, and boom, next thing you know, you're doing all right. Now, Uber's started this new thing. We're going to read the article here. I've got it brought up here already. But, I mean, how did DOT Blitz go for you guys, and gals? I don't think I had any inspections come across my desk. Now, I will say that if you do have an inspection, you have to send that paperwork to your company. And if you don't, that could be a bad day. So just, But anyways, LinkedIn is a good resource. Am I on it every day? No. The feed is just a lot of like motivational stuff and what people are doing but it's also a good way to keep your finger on the temperature, on the pulse, of what's going on. And because I firmly believe that when, not if, but when the uptick starts to happen, I'm going to see it early. I'm going to see signs of it. It's kind of like going from winter to spring. You're going to start seeing little pockets of information that shows that things are getting ready to improve. And so now's the time to maximize and get things together, get things in order for when the uptick does hit, you're ready to go. So that's just my little advice this morning. So, anyways, that's kind of what's going on. Let's see. Let's get rid of this. All right. Low volumes are back up in the Ohio region, so that's kind of nice. A lot of shenanigans this week. A lot of wait until last minute kind of stuff going on that I can see. Actually, no, I digress. Ohio Valley, at least on the DAT board, is not looking great. So we'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at 1, 2, 3 low board, and we'll take a look at some other stuff. But anyways, let's get to the comments here. Let's say good morning to the peeps. And hey, by the way, right there is my coffee. I got both the brews going. I would say this tastes a lot like the Folgers 1850. If you want to compare, it's the cowboy brew, but yeah, so check that out. I got these in yesterday. It's funny, TJ and I have been texting quite a bit, and he got his yesterday too, so we'll get a report, see how good it is. And I should be getting a gift in the mail today that I'll do an unboxing, and that'll be on the Snorelord OG channel, so make sure you check that out. So hit the thumbs up while I read your silly little comments that mean the world to me. Southbound Pachyderm, what's up? Jose, good morning. Cheap Freight Hauler, good morning. Jackknife TV, good morning. Truckers Education Network, Jeffrey Light, good morning. Fate Truckin', morning from Delaware. I'm in Delaware. Okay, thank you for mansplaining that to me. Sterling Wheel, I cannot relate to those that have not struggled. I was going over some tax stuff yesterday, and I was apologizing to the wife on how lame I was on record keeping this year. And it's like, I feel bad because I tell people you got to track your numbers and everything, and I'm not doing that for myself. Obviously, I got lazy because I'm not driving, I don't have a truck anymore, that kind of thing. And I said, sometimes I feel like a hypocrite. I'm being honest with you. But at the same time, if you want to go to AA, you don't want to hear from people that have never been an alcoholic, right? And so a lot of the struggles that I've gone through, a lot of the struggles and the weaknesses that I have, that's where this information comes from. I've made the mistakes on the low boards. I've made the mistakes running the spot market. I've made the mistakes running a trucking business. And if you have any hope of succeeding with what's coming down the line with the technology and the different platforms changing, you're going to kind of need to get that stuff together, because if you're still got an ancient mindset, guess what? You're going to have some challenges, and it's not just going to be just the rates. You know, if you're only griping about the rates right now, you're missing the whole picture. If you're only griping about broker transparency, then you're missing the big picture. And most of the arguments that we have on these interwebs is literally like not important at all. You know, because it keeps you from focusing on yourself. It keeps you from being honest with yourself. You know, instead of looking at the brokers and blaming them for your numbers, you know, how about what can you do? What is within your control? And I'm guilty of that at times. I'm guilty of not doing what needs to be done. I'm guilty of being lazy. I'm guilty of being complacent. And it's something that I struggle with daily. So most of my information comes from just experience of what I've done right and what I've done wrong, and what I was able to avoid, and what is unavoidable, and how to withstand the unavoidable. So, which is what down markets are. Down markets are unavoidable. And so you have to insulate yourself from that. You know, Jeff's new lease purchase program, you know, he and I were talking about that the other day, and his numbers, the truck payments are spot on perfect. Spot on perfect. He's making a little bit of money, and the driver's not getting reamed for $800 a week, or $1,000 a week, or $1,500 a week, like some of these lease purchases are doing. And that's the right way to do it. And that's that way you're not worried about the market as much as someone that needs, you know, $800 a day just to survive. So there you go. Bittersweet day for me. I think I'm unloading my last stop on my last plant load of the spring, back to low board next week. Well, Cheap Freight Hauler, hopefully the information that you see here will help you out. If not, I apologize. So, consumer spending is not there this year. I ran plants until the end of June last year. I agree. Flowers is one of those luxury items. And I mean, like I saw a picture of, it was a comparison of somebody's grocery bill like 5 years ago and today, and it was crazy, the difference. It was like a 60% higher. And then I've got a friend of mine that literally, he lives in California. He's got a really good job out there, and he flew out to Milwaukee because the Milwaukee Metal Fest is going on right now. And he showed a picture of a beer and a steak dinner that he was having. He goes, in California, this would be like a $12 beer and a $50 steak. Here, it's a $6 beer and a $25 steak. He goes, man, I might just have to fly out here once a week just to save money on going out to eat. And that's the reality. I mean, you know, one thing that we can all say about California, what you see going on in California always creeps east. Always, always. Their rates, their EPA regulations, the homeless situation, the drug problem. I mean, I saw a thing on Joe Rogan where the animals are all acting weird because there's fentanyl in the freaking water, because they're dumping it down the toilets. And it's just like, we've got some hard times coming up. You better get it together, or at least isolate yourself and watch the world burn. So, CM Freight Broker, good morning, Mr. Steve. I hope you've had a great week. It's a long weekend in Canada, Victoria Day on Monday, May 20th to the 24th. Awesome. Wimpy says 500 miles of complete road construction closures, Milwaukee, Chicago, and Indy, brutal. Yep. Yeah, it's like going from also that stretch from New Stanton to Mechanicsburg. There's always something being, well, not even there. Like from mile marker 1 on Pennsylvania there on 70 is it's been under construction, I think, since the 1800s. Isha, sitting here in Des Moines, Iowa, I have an overshort pallet of fish broth Waiting on broker now 3+ hours to find out what they want to do with it. Ugh, next load is the home load after 3 weeks. I know it's crazy. Like, okay, obviously that's, if it's a pallet over, then, obviously you're going to have to take it to some cross-dock facility, right? I've done that a few times. It's like, there's been times I'm, all right, I got a plan, I've got it perfect, and I go in the back and I look and there's a full pallet back there. I'm like, ugh. Now I got to find a place to park, call the company, let everybody have the email war. Nobody makes phone calls. Got to have the email war. And then finally I have to call my dispatcher and go, hey, man, what are we doing with this? Or call the broker. Hey, what are we doing this? There's an Old Dominion like 2 miles from here. You're sending me there, right? Like, you almost have to tell them what to do. So I have never talked about the importance of having a linked website create a consistent. I have never talked about the importance of having a linked website create consistent message. Yeah, you have. Haven't you? Your post confuses me. Click and go is where it's at. The less people I talk to, the better. People suck. There are days when it feels like that, right? Wimpy, I agree with most of that statement, but don't limit yourself, just click and goes. I think Wimpy is being a little bit sarcastic. Roman Services, good morning. Sterling says, all I saw this week was a ballroom blitz. Now you got that song in my head, thanks. Going for fuel, then show up at the shipper, fingers crossed they will accept me. They should. I've been in there early, so you'll be all right. Gen Z Trucking, what's up? Truman, good morning. The key with LinkedIn is if you're a 1MC carrier, create a company page with the logo. Then on your personal page, you just type the company page and they are linked. Visit Blythe, everything is logistics. So, Daryl Worth, can I ask an 8 and 2 split question? Sure. CB says silly comment retracted. Cheap freight hauler, I've been around scale 16 times this week. Georgia pulled me in twice, but bypassed me once. I was in and bypassed twice without leaving the big road. The rest were closed. Good deal, man. That one in Georgia there, over there by Adairsville, that one always gets you. You leave that truck stop, you have no choice but to go in because you missed the pre-pass there. Jackknife, what's up? Says, LOL. Almost every video I make, Snorelord, is me being a hypocrite. Well, I mean, it's working for you. You've got like 15,000 subscribers and, whatever works. I mean, maybe that's what I need to do, right, to get my numbers up, right? Jeremy, stay away from Houston. They got hammered last night with 100-mile-per-hour wind. Wow. That's crazy. I've not been keeping up with the weather. Just, I look outside, I'm like, wonder if it's supposed to storm. I look at the radar, and there it is. So 3 more scales to cross to get home, thinking I'll ignore the sign to see if they'll come get me and give me an inspection. They might. Chief Freight Hauler, I went through 3 scales the other night that were open, but nobody was there. They just left the open sign on. The place was deserted. Wholesale Fireworks, Laramie, Wyoming, has camping and shoot-off July 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, 40-acre site, and it's legal to shoot any fireworks purchase. Well, that's good. Fireworks are legal here, not in Springfield, city limits, but people ignore that. DIY Semi, good day, mate, he says. Chief Freight Hauler, you're right there about the consumer spending. That's why Red Lobster is filing for bankruptcy. Red Lobster is another company. It's one of these things where it was the middle class that went there. That was kind of the uppity thing for a middle class family. But at the same time, Red Lobster's costs go up, but the food quality goes down. There were times when we went to Red Lobster like 20 years ago, and it was a good experience. Last time I went, it just that was okay. And you look at the bill and like, holy crap, did we just spend that kind of amount of money? F that. And so I imagine the whole country's doing that, which is why they're struggling. So CDN says, my wife noticed this year that plants were almost double the price this year. She bought the same $100 plants but got less number of plants. Yeah, that's how it is. Fennel Jackalope. Yes, that's a band name right there. Fentanyl jackalope. Start making clam chowder soup with that over pallet of fish broth. I'm hauling fan blades and toilet paper. I think you know what's about to happen. Oh, man. I'm just finishing an 8-hour break. I got time to go home. Do I have to do a 2-hour sleeper berth before going off duty? No. Okay, so your 8-hour break should have been in the sleeper. If you got time to go home, go home. So your 8 hours should have been in the sleeper. If it's not a full 8 hours in the sleeper, then you're not going to gain any time back. You know, the ELD makes that almost flawless, right? Unless you start rolling over the 8.2s. So I'll give you an example. So I parked in Muskogee. I couldn't quite make it home. So I'd spend one more night in the truck. I was at the pilot Muskogee. And our company at the time, when we were on paperwork, did not allow us to do the 8.2 split because even the DOT officers wouldn't understand it, and you would get dinged, right? The ELD just makes it cut and dry. So we were fresh on ELDs, and I look at my time, and I got up early because I don't sleep very soundly in the truck, and got up and saw that I had like 4 hours left. It was the 4 hours that I had left when I went to bed. So I contacted my dispatch. I'm like, hey, man, I got nothing else going on, right? I'm going home, right? He's like, yeah. I mean, it was like, it's showing 4 hours. Can I go? He's like, yeah, you just did an 8.2 split. I'm like, wow, sweet. And so in a situation like that, yes, you're good to go. So basically, the easiest way to explain the 8-hour break is if you spend 8 hours in the sleeper berth, that's a pause. It pauses your clock. Once you're 8 hours and 1 minute into that. So if you had 4 hours and 52 minutes left of your drive and 14, when you went into the sleeper berth, then at the end of that 8-hour sleeper berth, at 8 hours and 1 minute, you're going to have 4 hours and 52 minutes. And then let's say you drove a half an hour of that 4 hours and 52 minutes. The time on the other side of that 8-hour break that you spent will come back after 2 hours, which could be sleeper berth or off duty. There you go. So there you go. I just explained it. Then your second split can be done off duty. Your long break, 7 or 8 hours needs to be sleeper berth. Yes. DIY has a great video on the 8-7-2-3 split. Yep. So there you go. All right, let's get on the low board stuff and let's take a look at what's going on. Actually, let's go over this Uber article first. So let's do this. This is from FreightWaves, and I'm doing a commentary on this article here. Latest Uber Freight launch combines marketplace and managed services networks. And Celine, I want your input on this if you're still in here. New spot market platform brings transparency to load requirements and possible risks. And it shows this guy, he's in his passenger seat. Lovely. That looks like Salt Lake area. That looks like Utah. And, he's sitting there, he's just like, I'm going on Uber. He looks so happy. Him and his, is that a Volvo? Looks like a Volvo. All right. Arlington, Texas. Managed transportation and freight technology provider Uber Freight on Wednesday launched a spot market solution under its premier offering, Uber Freight Exchange. Now, if you remember earlier this week, I talked about how Uber was losing millions of dollars in this quarter. So let's see what they're up to. Uber Freight Exchange was initially released in September as a contract procurement platform, procurement platform, enabling shippers to run bids with both their own and Uber Freight's carrier network. At the time, the product brought Uber Freight's technology to the contract market while providing messaging tools, bid functions, and performance reporting to mitigating lane coverage risks in a wide variety of market conditions. And then it's got an article about their new TMS and all that stuff. Wide AI use. The new spot function unveiled at Uber Freight's Carrier Summit completes exchange and combines Uber Freight's brokerage and managed transportation solutions to offer an improved freight procurement experience through a tech-driven approach, according to the company. Uber Freight Exchange is an open, neutral marketplace where shippers and carriers can come to meet. It's not tied to the brokerage or the managed transportation business. Eric, head of carrier product management, told FreightWaves shippers who are using email or phone calls for their RFPs or for getting a spot rate now have one place to help them find the best carriers, get the best rates, and create fairness in the market. Create fairness in the market. Take note of that phrase there. Fairness in the market. What's fair for the lion is not fair for the gazelle. Combining the technology of Uber Freight and its acquired company Transplace, Exchange now allows carriers to procure both spot and contract loads on a single platform. Accessing loads from thousands of shippers, it brings together Uber Freight's capabilities and automated pricing. Okay, you pay attention to that. Automated pricing. Automated pricing doesn't care about your fuel. It doesn't care about your truck payment. It doesn't care about that new car you just bought. It doesn't care about the 3 employees that you got to try to keep on and try to find work for. Automated pricing is based off of supply and demand and what they can get away with. There's my 2 cents on that phrase. It brings together Uber Freight's capabilities in automated pricing and load recommendations developed over 7 years with Transplace relationships with hundreds of shippers. So essentially the idea is that if the shipper uses this platform, they can get a lower rate than using a broker. And they're going to try to sell it that if the driver gets on this platform, he can run direct freight at a better rate than they might get from a broker. And also you can quote lanes and all that stuff. Now, let's say you're a 20-truck company that has immigrants that barely can speak English. This might be a good way for you to go, you know what, I can cover all 20 of my trucks with this lane. Let's quote it. And they're going to quote it lower than you because they're not all ate up in debt, right? They've got grants. They've got preferentials. They've got all kinds of different things that you don't have, including a lower standard of living. The platform also brings greater transparency to the spot load procurement process, according to Uber Freight. So Uber Freight's going, yeah, man, it makes us more transparent. Yeah, okay. It provides carriers access to key load details up front, like facility ratings, hazmat requirements, and potential backhaul opportunities. The goal is to help carriers make more informed bidding decisions quickly without needing to seek out additional information from shippers. Rand Sun, Senior Product Manager of Marketplace Dynamics at Uber Freight, explained to FreightWaves how Exchange makes it easy for carriers to work between spot and dedicated markets for its updated solution. If carriers are continuously booking spot loads on a certain lane, this is the part that stood out to me. Let me fix something. All right. If carriers are continuously booking spot loads on a certain lane, we want them to know that there is an opportunity to book continuous rate on that lane. The system will string together a bunch of spot loads in order to form a 3-month contract. The carrier can now bid on that dedicated lane and have business lined up over the next couple of weeks rather than having to go look for how to book one-off loads every week, Sun explained. Now, that's actually a smart concept. However, there's a reason for that, and you have to figure out what the intention is with that. Again, it goes back to what I've said. They want to eliminate the roller coaster, and they being the shippers, the brokers, because they know that the minute that things are in the truck's favor, they're going to get their money. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to even the playing field. They're trying to make it to where there's no spikes and theoretically no lows, right? The problem right now is that by doing that and the cost going up, it's going to be harder and harder to meet in that middle. That's going to work for both parties. That's just my observation. Now, I do agree with this. Berdinis, man, I'm a horrible reporter. I apologize. Elaborated that on that scenario, pointing out that combining the spot and contract opportunities creates an advantageous network effect, which is true. I believe that there's a good combination that you can do. That's what a million trucking companies have done for years and years and years. Right? Have the combination. A single unified carrier portal where we can show load opportunities and reloads and backhauls across our shipper network gives carriers opportunity to form complete schedules. That should drive efficiency for them and also drive prices down for the shippers who otherwise would be paying for empty miles. Now, last I looked, I don't remember shippers paying for empty miles. If I'm 200 miles from like let's say if I see a load in St. Louis, here in Springfield, broker ain't giving me deadhead money unless they really needed me there because I'm doing something specialized. The shipper don't care that the trucks have to come. Now, they might be understanding if they realize they're in the middle of nowhere and it's tough to get trucks into the area. That might be a thing, but I don't know what I'm talking about. But the part to recognize is drive prices down. The shippers don't want the spikes. Drive prices down. Do you want your Amazon package to cost $80 to ship? No. Neither do they. And so what I'm seeing is this eternal struggle of trying to meet in the middle, trying to meet where trucks can sustain their business, but shippers aren't getting so reamed that their cost goes up, which eventually drives everything else up. Next thing you know, you're looking at a $50 steak in California versus a $25 steak in Milwaukee. So, drive prices down. The more loads we have in one place, the more those network effects, you start to see that benefit both parties. Now, let me go to CDN's comment here. It says carriers can bid. Shippers will see challenges of carriers wanting more than what shippers are willing to pay. I think this appeals to high volume, non-urgent freight. And I agree with that 100%. Man, I'm phlegmy today. Sorry. And it's about numbers, right? Here's the thing. There's a warehouse in Rolla, Missouri right now that's literally bulging at the seams with kitty litter. Kitty litter is a product that is not, like, there's no expiration date on kitty litter that I know of. So they will move it based on when the computers tell them that it could be at the cheapest. There's no urgency to move that kitty litter. And so if there's a non-perishable product, such as, charcoal, kitty litter, pet food, it's got a little bit of a time shelf, but not, it's not like it's super short. It there's no urgency. You can tell. I mean, how many people can look at a load board and like, oh man, there's a sense of urgency with this load because they're paying like $300 above the average lane price, and it's a one and done. It's not multiple stop or something stupid. Because there's a sense of urgency all of a sudden. When there's no sense of urgency, and so what they're trying to do is they're trying to level out, like clay, supply and demand. That's what they're trying to do. DIY says the same thing. They're trying to reverse the law of supply and demand. Let me go back to the comments here. That's okay, Pam. Good morning. Chief Freight Hauler and DIY may be making a deal on a reefer trailer. Justin Axberg, good morning. Seems they are platform and TMS and less brokerage. The gray area is how Uber is procuring customers would determine if they are still a broker. Are shippers now paying carrier or is Uber collecting? Yeah, it's blurring the lines, correct? Sage addressed this article to me on Monday. How is Uber making money to not be a broker? Uber is still vetting carriers for the shippers. How is Uber making money? How is Uber making money is the question. Well, it could be another deal where maybe they're not, but they're trying to get the market share and information and the analytics and all the connections, right? That's just my opinion. Sounds like Uber's trying to do something like a merge, yes? We see you're taking all these spot market loads for $1.80 a mile. Well, guess now take them for $1.40 a mile, but it's contracted. Wow. It says carriers can bid. Shippers will see challenges if carriers. Okay, I already read that comment. Two realities. It says CDN. Uber Freight original platform was not as disruptive as expected. Number two, on Uber Ride, how many people can make a living giving rides full time? Las Vegas, Nashville, Edmonton equals part time. That is true. That is true. Here it is. Uber platforms are not designed to help carriers make huge money, never will. So the ones that can live off the lower money is what this will be. The people that win the race to the bottom is who will win. Because as the article says, drive prices down. That's the idea. Drive prices down. There you go. And Cheap Free Hauler and DIY is wheeling and dealing. It's great to have a great community. Thank you for the memberships, you guys, by the way. I appreciate that. Old School Trucking, I saw you sneak in here. Good morning. All of that easy product for the carrier so they can get the carrier to haul it for 80% lower of your daily cost. And we all know how that ends. It may not end well for an individual, but it will end. It will not end well for the people that bring the prices down to unsustainable levels. You know, Matt. You know, we talked earlier this year about these shippers that Amazon getting rid of like this one company in a certain area, that company's probably going out of business. I think that's what happened because they were not meeting Amazon's demand on pricing. That's the thing with contract freight. That's the thing with direct shipper freight. They have to understand what it costs to your operation. And so if you go in there, if you go into a 3-dock shipper that maybe ships, 5 loads a week, and your bills are higher. Hold on a second. Heard a weird noise. Then the guy that comes in and is able to give a lower quote, well, they're going to go with the lower quote. Customer service counts. It truly does. But there's a point where money is the issue. That's the thing. Like you can be you can do all the suggestions that CDN says. Have a website, have ELD tracking, show exceptional customer service. Take your time to go out to the shipper and make sure that everything looks good. Go with the driver to see how it could be better service for that customer. But at the end of the day, if they can't afford you, they can't afford you. And because of the economic conditions, these shippers are struggling just as much as anybody else. Can you imagine the traffic office in a Walmart distribution facility and the guy in charge of the pricing on that? The pressure that he's under right now because, I don't know if Walmart's losing money like every other retailer. Probably not. But their costs have increased. That's just my 2 cents. This world of logistics goes way deeper than I think most people realize. I mean, I'm only touching the skim little bit surface of all of this. And the computers and the AI and the internet has made this lightning fast. Like you can't even keep up. Think about what things look like before the vid. Think about if you're a one truck company right now and you were around before the vid, how different is everything now for you? It's probably a pretty substantial, significant difference of how you're looking for freight, unless you have the good relationships that have stayed pretty even throughout all the fluctuations that we see, the highs and the lows, which I know people that have been able to manage that. Jackknife says, in my opinion, this ain't going to help anybody but the brokers and the shippers. Supply and demand will be dead, and the only one that's always going to lose is the carrier owner-operator. They're essentially locking the carrier, the owner-operator, out of the free market. Pop-Tart, good morning. So, anyways, that's DIY says, why is there no real talk about wages? It's the elephant in the room. Drivers' wages will have to come down soon. I agree with that. Because if the trucking companies are struggling, let's say I owned 20 trucks and I had spot rate, right? Or not spot rate, contract rates. I'm doing okay for now. But my costs keep going up and up. Driver pay always struggles with that. The company simply cannot pay in this market. CDN, my nugget for today: use the load board to find new brokers. If you had a great experience with a broker, put huge effort and build a deep relationship. Get their freight not on load boards. That's always been my approach. Not always, but for the most part. And I recognize that relationships fall apart. I recognize that drivers, are a big element of that. I've got a really good star driver now that I'm dispatching. I mean, you should see the email chains I'm saving with his. And we have several like that. And those are the people that have some hope. Because another way to eliminate the highs and lows is a broker that's got a good relationship with their shipper, with a company that can afford to pay what's needed to be paid to maintain the relationship. Maintaining the relationship. Anybody can get, like marriages. Anybody can get married, right? But how many people can maintain that marriage? The highs and lows. The honeymoon phase and the, I'm sick of you phase. You got to find the middle ground somewhere. So it's any relationship. A lot of people that I was friends with are out of my life now. Either because they took themselves out or I took them out. And then there are people that I'm friends with now that have been great friendships, helping me go forward. We help each other go forward. Business relationships are very similar. Solve a problem. Solve their problem. And have your boundaries to protect yours. So would rather have a lane locked in for X amount or beat the load board up daily for a chance to make an additional 25 cents a mile. That's what it's coming down to, right? And, and there are several people in my circle, and they know if they're watching, that they've talked about and butted heads with me on this topic over and over. My father, who was an owner-operator in the 80s, he figured out pretty early, you know what, I just want to deal with two brokers. And he had good relationships with them, and he was hardly ever using the low board. And at that time, it was dial a truck, the TV screen in the truck stop next to all the phone booths. I remember those days. He had to sit there and pad a paper and told me to sit down and shut up. That's what. Sit down, shut up. And we took produce up to Hunts Point, and we grabbed toys out of the ports in Boston back west to California. Rinse, repeat. That's what he did. Every now and then the toys wouldn't be ready. So he would do some spot stuff through the Carolinas, and then find a load back to Arizona. That was what we did. I say we. He did it. I was just along for the ride. You know what? His issues were money management issues. He didn't fail. Once we got to Springfield, once we moved here, he was like, you know what? I'm going back to company. It's too stressful. This truck is going to break me. And he didn't know how to manage his money, and that's what happened. Gave the truck back, and suddenly we had money in the house. Pop-Tart's planning a trip to California. That might be fun. that'll be an interesting conversation because I can tell you, says Jack Knife, that no matter how bad the economy ever got when I worked in a different industry, they never asked us to give up pay. I remember my company I was at back in 2009. They were hurting, and they actually did ask the office to give up 15% of their pay temporarily. Several people left. And that's usually all you need to do. You don't have to lower everybody's if you can just get rid of 2 or 3, extra workers. That's a method. That's a management method. Me too, CDN. That's what's kept me hauling these plants since 2020. The contract rate per mile will make most owner-ops laugh, but once you add in the accessorials, I think it's great for the slow time of the year on the load board. Drivers are getting a pay cut now by getting less miles per week, and eventually a driver will quit. That's how you don't lay off drivers. Correct. That's another method. I always laugh at these companies on the back of the trailer. It says, we give you more money and more home time. How is that possible? Oh, yeah, you're making 50 cents a mile, but you're only doing 1,500 miles a week. So at the end of the day, yeah, you're working less, but you're also making less. And the formulas are never, ever in your favor. We are after another contract. This is how you make money. You have to know how to do. It's a process. You have to get off the daily spot market. It's sad, but interesting to see it. If I had multiple trucks, yeah, it'd be. I mean, I wouldn't have, like, if McCormick came and said, "Hey, man, we've got 100 loads, in this period of time, and we'll write you a contract for 2 years, and we come up with a number." Then it's just a matter of buying the equipment and finding the drivers. That's the other challenge. Find the drivers that are willing to do that. I reached out to a broker, and it was actually it was posted on the DAP board as a separate load. And when I called on it, they were like, "Oh yeah, what this is it's actually, we're looking for 20. We're going to have 20 of these a month, and we're just looking for quotes to this." And it was like a quick 150-mile deal, and they're wanting to be around $500 for it. I didn't have the heart to tell them that that's not going to be manageable if you want these trucks to do it round trip, because of fuel, because of the cost of repair, and then finding someone that's willing to do the same 150 miles over and over and over and over and over. There's a lot of people I talk to, like, I like doing the open load boards and doing something different every day because I don't want to do the same thing every single day. And I get that. Even though I'm not like that, I get that. Like, it's just like, okay, so here in Springfield, one of the main arteries in Springfield is Glenstone Avenue. And there's a craft plant right in the middle of Springfield. And their Wilson Logistics has these trucks, they're day cabs, and all they do, they don't even slide the tandems back and forth. They just keep them to the rear. All they do is go from Craft downtown to the caves, Springfield Underground. That's all they do. They go up and down Glenstone to Division or Glenstone to Chestnut. Depends on what mood they're in. They just go back and forth. That's all they do. And we were behind one of their trucks the other day, and I told my wife, it's like, man, wonder how annoying that is to just go down Glenstone every single day, several times a day. Even if you're making good money, I don't know what they pay on those. I think they do okay. But I wonder if you just get so tired of it. And I get it. A lot of drivers don't like that. They want the open road. But in a time of crisis, you want to know what you're getting into. In a time of crisis, you want to have consistency. If you're all over the place and constantly stressed, It might be nice to be in a groove for a minute. At least until you can get things squared away. Like, there was a circle of us on what was that app? Zello. And these two guys were griping that their company was all they were doing was Chicago to Pennsylvania back. That's all they were doing. These are company drivers. They're also known for job hopping. And they were griping to the whole group about how they're so sick of this. I said, guys, you need to ride this wave for as long as you possibly can. And if you treat this right, the company is going to make you a higher priority for the next contract that they get. I don't care if you get sick of every nook, cranny, pothole, tree. Ride this because you guys need consistency. You need to know what you're doing next. You need to know what your paychecks are going to be. And this is the best way to do it. And of course, they both faltered. And guess what? They're no longer at that company anymore. Imagine that. Right? Sage says it's called layoffs. Well done, Chief Freight. That's how you build a yearly plan. While you're on the nursery contract, you can think about other opportunities. During those months, I bet your neck shoulders are relaxed. Sterling says, good morning from Tangent, Oregon. Wear sunscreen. It's not for vacation. It's for stability going out to California. You waste time and energy on cold calling. Wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. And here's why. So the other day, I think yesterday, we were watching Shark Tank. This kid at 9 years old came up with this new handle for an umbrella. He won awards at his school, and then he was in some national competition and got like first in out of 140,000 new inventions and products or whatever. So at 15 years old, he went on Shark Tank, and he was able to tell them that he cold called at 15 years old. He cold called a major umbrella manufacturer, and they got on board. Of course, they took a big percentage of the idea, but here's the thing. He cold called literally one of the biggest umbrella companies in the country, and he got in. To the point that he's got to support, and the guy's going to be a millionaire. Now, that's an extreme case, but cold calling, there is some progress with that. I mean, DIY did that thing with eCarrier. I mean, look, I get it. Like going door to door, salesman, knocking on the door, bothering somebody while they're not wanting to be bothered. Yes, I get that. And that's but it takes a certain kind of personality to be able to pull that off. And I once was able to quote a load for the guy that is the biggest distributor and manufacturer of Bibles in the country. I was able to talk to this dude directly. Of course, I got outbid, but I had that opportunity. So I disagree with that. You don't waste time and energy. You have to be efficient. You have to do it a certain way. But I think CDN will tear that apart. So. Jose, in the 90s, how we did it. 1 to 2 brokers. A lot of it was direct loads with the customer, no third-party shipper. Right. Cool Trucking, good morning. Picking up a 16 multi-stop finishing in northern Vermont. Never hit the low boards. All right, go feed your cows. I just want a job that strokes my ego and feeds my bad habits. That's most people, Sterling. That's most people. You also have drivers that want to do the mind-numbing work. The hardest thought they have is, did I roll the legs up all the way? Right? Riding dirty, what I miss? Not much. You missed some things and you missed nothing at the same exact time. We haven't gotten into the low board stuff yet. We're already at an hour, so forgive me. But we talk about some good topics here. I'll say this, and then we'll look at the low boards. It's about balance, right? This new Uber platform, they're trying to create balance. But he who has the money wins the game. He who has the equipment wins the game. And that is not going to be in your favor. That leveling the playing field is not going to be in your favor. So you have to look at the areas where you can own the playing field, not make sure it's leveled, not make sure it's not communistic in the sense of trying to even the playing field for everybody. Because you're never going to be an equal to Schneider or to JB Hunt or to Prime, because they got numbers, they got drivers, they got trucks, they got trailers, they got contracts. And you, the one truck operator or the 5 truck operator, you have to find a different way to go against that. It's David versus Goliath. You have to find a way, take their failings and capitalize on them, on those failings. And these platforms and all these algorithms and the AI, that's designed it's designed to keep rates low. It's designed to take out the necessity for paying higher because it's urgent, right? If you struggle, says CDN, with cold calling, go to industry trade shows, pay for a month of Sales Navigator on LinkedIn. It allows you to send messages without being connected. Many was the network. Yes, Chief Freight Hauler, quote, thank you, 48065. I haven't done a good job of promoting the 123 low board today, but there you go. Look, I do these videos mainly for, 99.9% is about my thoughts of what I'm seeing, what's coming down the line, what I've witnessed, what I've screwed up, what's working now, and 1% is about promoting this low board. And I'm not afraid to show the other low boards because they're all tools in this game that we call the spot market. And the more tools you have, the more clarity you can have, the more successful the potential is to be there. All landing gears are self-retractable if you're brave enough. You know, it's funny. I was sitting there at the one of my favorite stops on my Columbus runs was I would stop at this rest area on I-70 right outside of Indianapolis. Like, I think it's Greenfield. I'm sitting there, enjoying the fresh air, doing my pre-trip. I'm like, what's that weird noise? I'm like, the hell is that? And I look, there's a white Peterbilt 387 dragging his trailer all the way across the parking lot. Either he forgot that he put the landing gear down, or someone put his landing gear down. He was just like looking at me like, I'm like pointing. Then finally got caught. On one of the, because it's Indiana, the roads aren't smooth, right? He's eventually going to find out the wrong hard way. And he did. Luckily, he was on the secondary part where it didn't affect me. And that's how my day started. So that's what that comment makes me think of. Should you DoorDash on weekends? Yeah, I don't know. Depends on where you live. If you live in BFE, Arkansas, you probably won't make much. Let's see. Steve, pull up Veritread VeriTread website. It connects shippers and carriers directly. However, VeriTread charges 20% commission. Carriers can send a rate, but not message shipper. It looks good, but not easy. That will be another time, CDN, because I mean, it's a good topic, but I think I'm done talking about this. Let's just get to the low boards. So they had to make all the speed bumps that FedEx put of rubber because of derp. Sterling. All right. Load availability. Let's switch this to van. Let's see where the hottest van markets are today. It's Friday, and I got some low boards already set up. Some searches already set up. Looks like we got California's green, Arizona's green, Texas is green. Texas has got some good volumes. Outbound volumes 878 with 357 intrastate. Missouri looks decent. Iowa it's getting better. Iowa's getting better, which is nice because Iowa's been struggling here a little bit. Wisconsin is getting a little bit better, but not much. Illinois, Indiana, Ohio are doing a little bit better. Volumes are up this week. Obviously, it was a little bit easier to book this week in a way. But, of course, Southeast here. But then New York, I wouldn't go past New York. New York can be sketchy. And look, there's not very big numbers coming out of New York. Now, when you go to the DAT, let's see. Their vans are Alabama, Arkansas is doing okay. Arizona is doing okay. California is doing okay. Florida still has more out than in. Georgia has way more out than in. Illinois, not so much. 1476 in, 831 out. Indiana, almost half, a little bit more than half coming out than in. Louisiana looks good. Michigan, not great. 640 in, 389 out. Minnesota's a crap show. Missouri, 579 in, 499 out. A little bit lower than I'd like to see. North Carolina looks good. 866 in, 1439 out. Jersey, 694 in. Jersey's about even. But still, the softer markets in the whole area kind of kill that market. New York, half coming out. Ohio, 1276 in, 765 out. This is all for van, by the way. PA, 1664, 1059 in. Or 1664 in, 1059 out. So PA, you're going to struggle a little bit more. And coincidentally, they're paying a little bit better to go into Pennsylvania than they have been for the last 2 weeks. I've noticed that. The rates going into Pennsylvania, no matter where you come from, are going up. South Carolina, 518 in, 1093 out. Tennessee looks good. Texas is okay. And then Wisconsin is 747 in, 480 out. So Midwest is still struggling a little bit. So that's your van market right there. Let's take a look at Arizona. Let's see what's going in and out of Arizona. Sort this by highest rate. $213 a mile to go to Jersey from Surprise. This is for van. It's actually pretty good. Let's take a look at that one. Especially, it is Jersey, but they're up a little bit. Well, maybe not. Raycheck's got this at fairly lower. No, it's Cargo Sheet's got it at 48, so it's come down quite a bit. So they're trying to meet in the middle on this one. No extra stops or anything. 40% above my cost per day. Let's see what the tolls are here. $300 in tolls. So, meanwhile, they've got $1.79 to go into Davie, Florida. So that's what I'm used to seeing out of Arizona. $254 to go to Washington. That's a shorter run, but $3,500. Of course, Washington volumes are not great. 236 a mile. Yep. So your good lane is going to, or your big pan lane is going to Washington, but coming out is going to be a bear. Usually you got to take a hit out of Washington, Oregon, and go into California, and then California, rinse, repeat. Right? So why don't play out west too much with the trucks unless they want out there? And then I come up with strategies and hope, we get something. Like here's $1.62 to go to from basically Tolleson to Obitz, Ohio. That's that Columbus lane I like. They're about $500 shy of where it needs to be sustainable. Phoenix to Milwaukee. So not the greatest rates. Let's take a look at inbound Arizona, see what that looks like. Bigger money's going to Colorado. It's like Niagara Falls and Tempe, $1.53 a mile. Greensboro, North Carolina, Peoria, $1.49 a mile. So if you're in North Carolina, you need to get to Phoenix. Go to Missouri. Go to the Joplin market, and then go to Arizona. Two-step it. You're going to make a better rate. Here, let's test something. Let's see if I'm full of it or not. Let's see if I know what I'm talking about. So let's do Charlotte, North Carolina, to Phoenix, Arizona. This is for van. Okay, rate checks. Carrier spot rate's gone on 33.61. Let's see what Cargo Chief's got at 34.73. But if you do Charlotte to, say, we'll do Joplin, Missouri. You're making a little bit more per mile. Not much, but a little bit more. They're 1808 on Cargo Chief. Now, if we do Joplin to Phoenix, you're getting a better rate out of there. So essentially you can get 18 plus 24. Or if you're going to go by this, it was 15 plus 21 versus going out there for what was the amount? Not even $3,000. Two-step it. Three-step it if needed. That's how you get out of the Northeast. You two-step. Unless time is an issue. That's the only time that you would not want to two-step it. But then you see the fluctuation here on the historical rate. So from Joplin to Phoenix, it's been as low as 17.20 and as high as 31.39, $2.58 a mile. Right now it's sitting at $1.77. So it's on a downward trend so far. Upward trend if you look at this number here. So, all right, let's take a look at reefer here. And then we'll do some searches. Drivers won't like Veritread because then they cannot whine that the broker is keeping 50% of their money. See, it says great show today. Thank you. I appreciate it. Sterling says 53 reefer as clean as California, Chicago. We can do that. Speaking of reefer, let's take a look. California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. New Mexico's back green. It was yellow for a minute. These are fairly lower numbers. Missouri looks good. More out than in, unlike Van. Let's take a look at California. Let's see what we're doing on the big paying cross country stuff. Let's see what they're doing. $8,000 to go from California to Massachusetts. Look at that. That picks up today. And Fox Logistics tends to be a little bit lower on their stuff. So see what's going on with this load. Yeah. That's why. You got 2 shippers, 2 pickups, and then 2 deliveries. But still, they're at $8,000, $273. If those are all miles, it's frozen seafood. Can't be late. You can check an hour early. So that might be something. What's that put you in the Boston market? So some big paying money coming out of California. This is all reefer though. So they're paying to come out now. It's good. All right, let's see the fine loads. Create new search. Salinas. To Chicago. This is for Sterling, who's been a big supporter of the channel. I appreciate him. Oh, I turned the banner off. All right. Let's take out van. By the way, speaking of load boards, I've been hearing that Truck Stop is now having crashing issues as of late. There's only 3 loads in that description there. Santa Rosa, California, Germantown, Wisconsin. That's 2 going to Lebanon, Indiana. I imagine that's probably the same load. This one's 15 minutes old, so it's probably still available. Picking up today. So if you're in Salinas, California, you're probably hating life right now. If you're strictly looking for Chicago. Axle Logistics, Santa Rosa, California, Germantown picks up today. Doesn't say when it delivers. 2,200 miles, 35.8 on the weight. We got an email address right there. Nice. And they don't have a rate posted. Why? Because they know they're going to have to pay it, so they want you to quote the low price, so they don't have to do it. It's been as high as 54, and it's been as low as 45. So it's been as low as 41. Look at that. $1.89 a mile at one point on the AI. So some of the searches I got here, I've got San Diego to anywhere van and reefer, 200-mile radius. Let's see what's out here. Let's sort this by highest rate. Of course, we got that $8,000 coming out of Vernon going to Massachusetts. 65 to go to, man, my phone's going nuts. All notifications for YouTube. 65 to go to Connecticut, go to Canada and visit some people. 5,201 a mile on that. Now we're getting into the $80s, $99s. Again, this is van and reefer, so quite a bit coming out though. 200-mile radius of San Diego. That's what this is. Now, if we go to Seattle to anywhere, let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at the difference here. This is also for van and reefer. Reefer loads are obviously paying the best. But here's the best van load, $23.80 to go from Portland to the BC. And then you've got BC to Arizona, $1.18 a mile. Let's see. Washington to Cheyenne, $1.31 a mile. Unbelievable. Not great rate per mile. Oh, here's a winner. Mabton, Washington to Los Angeles. $110% below my cost per day. $900, 86 cents a mile, and it is not a parcel. It's 45,000 pounds. That is not even fuel money. Not out west, it isn't. Jackknife is singing Metallica. Hit the lights. Sage says, I just had a driver tell me that 265 is break-even point with the reefer. Yep. Either this is a mistake or Jesse Crane doesn't know what she's doing or he's doing. It could be a male. We don't know. Now, I understand that Washington, California is a backhaul rate lane, but even Cargo Chief's got it at 206 a mile. Even Green Screens had it at least at 1160. And if they're going by the AI, that's probably where that pricing's coming from. Excellent. Check this check call here. Docked. Excellent. Driver went in early. He's getting loaded early. Excellent. So go out west, man. You're playing with fire, pretty much. All right, so let's go to Atlanta. Let's see what Atlanta anywhere is giving us. Sort this by highest rate. No, I did it backwards. $1.69 to go to Washington. See, this is the part that you have to pay attention to. If your costs are $1.80 a mile, this is a van load. To make a profit, and you take this load to Washington without talking them up, and then you take we just saw the rates coming out of Washington. Does that work? Or are you slowly going out of business? Are you putting miles on your truck that is getting you nowhere? Now, if you're doing a rate per day, does that meet your rate per day? Let's click on this one. See if it meets our rate per day. Picks up at 4 today. Delivers at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. It's 2% above my cost per day. My cost per day in a van is $358, and those were my two costs at 20 days a month. Okay, obviously, if you're doing this run, you're probably going to stay out more than 20 days a month on the average. $366 profit per day. So I'm only 2%. It's flooring, so you know it's going to be heavy. $42,000. The fuel bill alone on this load is going to be, where is it? Basically $1,700 in fuel is your estimated fuel cost. and then I got my 20%, percentage that goes to the carrier. So out of 2,600 mile week, because I'm obviously going to do more for the rest of the week, but it's 44 hours, so you're going to kill your hours on this run. You're looking at making about 1828, so 366 a day. I meant to say his breaking point is 265 a mile. Says Sage. And these aren't far removed from what they've been going for, these posted rates. So, lots of volume coming out of Atlanta, though. Let's do a rate per mile. Let's sort this by rate per mile. See where all the shorties are at coming out of Atlanta and where they're going. A lot of $500, $600 days here. Here you go, 1,600. College Park to Pageland, South Carolina. Let's take a look at this load. Picks up today, delivers tomorrow at 4:30. Look at that. Is it hazmat? Nope. It's a reefer load, -10, 29,000 pounds. One day in $1,600. I think it's a 207% above my profit, above my cost per day. I mean, of course, my costs aren't based off a reefer trailer. So let's look at something that's a van load. Here we go. $1,000 to go 184 miles. Woodbury, Georgia, to Murphy, North Carolina. This is a van load. Just posted a minute ago. And they've got several of them, or they've posted this several times. Cargo Chief's got this at 6:32, so there's a sense of urgency to this load. It's a flatbed load. Why is it a flatbed? Oh, it's van or flatbed. So that means it's probably lumber or bricks or something. $1,000 for 100 miles. Now, it might not deliver till Monday, so that rate per day goes down. But if you lived in North Carolina, this might be a good load. Make $1,000, go home, get a 34. But that's 90% above my cost per day. So, several $800,000, $900,000 days out here. That's good. That's good to see. Then you got Greenville, South Carolina, Augusta, Georgia, $313 a mile, $350. So, here we go. Hawkinsville, Georgia, to Johnstown, Ohio, $294 a mile, almost $3 a mile to go into Ohio from Georgia. Let's see what's going on with this load. Picks up at 7:30, so you're probably working at this point. 126 above my cost per day. This is a van load, so I can say that. Cargo Chief's got it at 12:38. They're at 21. Live potted plants. Look at that cheap free hauler. You can still haul flowers if you want. Double blind. Needs to be a 53 reefer at 65 to 70 degrees with 3 load locks and 4 straps. But this is posted in the van loads. Why do you need a reefer then? Why don't you and it's a double blind, so there's all kinds of sketchy stuff going on here. And it's way higher than it normally is. I don't think this is going to work. I wouldn't trust this. Not even a phone call from me. Not with all the scamming going on. Potential for too many problems. Here's a hazmat load for $900 for 338 miles. They're paying about $260 to go into Miami here from Atlanta. So, and what other search? I had Columbus to Anywhere. Let's take a look at that. By the way, get your coffee. Of course, it's not in the screen anymore, but get your coffee. Morning Coffee Live. That's what we do here. Solon, Ohio to Meadville, PA, $850, almost $10 a mile. It's not a bad day, but it'll probably deliver Monday, 39,000 pounds. Of course, let's click on that one, see what the toll situation is, if any. Let's see. Point required. TV accessorials. TV truck. Okay. Doesn't really say anything special. It's a good paying load, especially if you live in PA. Oh, what was the tolls? That's what we're going to look at. No tolls. So there you go. But then coming out, you're going to be challenged. Richmond to Landover, Maryland, $312 a mile, $1,600. Let's do the highest rate coming out of Ohio. See where the long haul stuff's going. Almost $2 a mile to go to Oregon. That's with the reefer. So you're taking a hit both directions. Highest paying van load going, and the all-in rate is $3,100 to go out to California, $1.38 a mile. Normally it's around $1.41, so they're right about where it's been averaging. Meanwhile, if you want to go to Manitoba, there's $2,500, $2.40 a mile. And they keep reposting this because they're having trouble moving this, I would imagine. And it's got like 8 different origins, so they're doing the different cities thing. 84 PA to Laredo, Texas, $1.25 a mile. 203 to go to Massachusetts from Indiana, Fort Wayne. 306 a mile to go into New York for a van. So most of your high paying short stuff's going to go to the Northeast. So let's do that here. Let's go to rate per mile. I think that's what we were seeing. We just had it on there. Yeah, PA, Virginia, Maryland. Anything above $1,000 is going to PA, Northeast. Here's $1,000 go to Michigan. Of course, we saw Michigan's market was kind of not doing great. So, all right, create new search. Flatbed trucker wants Newberry, Michigan to anywhere. So let's do that. Newberry. Okay. Newberry, Michigan to anywhere for today. Obviously, we're going to go with flatbed. That would be silly if you're a reefer driver and you've named yourself flatbed trucker. Search. There's one load, dude. Let's edit our search a little bit. Let's expand this. We'll do 200 and let's put in today. Let's put in the whole weekend to Monday. Not much more. Everything's coming out of New London, Wisconsin, which what you have to be careful with some of these platforms is sometimes they got you going across the lake. Let's see what the mapping looks like. Yeah. So that's not technically 200 miles. Or what's the deadhead on this? 207 miles. So not much coming out, dude. Not much coming out at all. But the loads that are there, you got 218 a mile to go to Georgia. They're obviously up in the rate, so they're having trouble moving this Georgia load. And they keep going back down. That's another tactic I see. Yeah, if you stare at a load board long enough, I'll see like TQL does this a lot. It'll go from 800 to 900 to 1,000 to 1,100. And then when it still doesn't move, let's say I call on that load and the details don't work for me, then I see it reposted again at 800. Like it keeps getting, like it's kind of like bass fishing. You strike, you cast near where you think the fish are, and it's right there, and then it goes further and further and further. It's kind of like that, right? So let's check flatbed on the load availability. See where you need to be. We'll throw in step deck here too. Yeah, Michigan's not great. Let's take a look at this. None of it for, let's see. Your highest rate coming out of Michigan is going to South Dakota. Here's one going to Florida. That's a 48 flat. Texas, $1.93 a mile. This is all for next week, though. $1.90 out of Detroit. $1.77 to go from Detroit to Arcadia, Florida. Well, the Southeast is a little bit more awake. Not even $2 a mile to go from Holland, Michigan to Colorado. But if you want to go east, where it's a dark red up there, Monroe, Michigan to Manchester, New Hampshire, 284 a mile, $2,200. They're above the average on that. Let's take a look at that load. Yes, it is a bad area. No, nothing special about it. Paying a little bit. Playground equipment. Well, that's fun. Of course. Let's look at your backhauls out of New Hampshire. There's 10 out of Manchester going anywhere. Let's take a look at those rates. Bunch of shorties keeping you up in the Northeast. Nothing going west. That's it. Nothing going west. Even down here in the similar loads. You got some Illinois. But, yeah. So, alrighty. Well, we're going to end this feed. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the thumbs up. Thanks for the inner chat. We brought up some decent points today, maybe. I don't know. What do you take away from all this? Well, just keep on trucking, really. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's out of your control. There's a lot of stuff that's going to go against you, and as a small business owner, and that's going to be the challenges that we have. It's and they're trying to figure out ways to eliminate the roller coaster. They're trying to replace the driver, and they're trying to make it harder to do business. And so make sure you surround yourself with good people that are succeeding. Make sure you keep your costs down. If you're doing a lease purchase plan for someone, make sure those trucks are reasonably priced. Because if you don't believe me, go look at the Schneider yards. They're full of turned-in lease trucks because their payments are just not manageable right now. You don't have to take my word for it. You can see it for yourself. Anyways, 48065 on the 123 load board if you want to try it free for 30 days. It's got some great tools. It's a great add-on to other load boards. The Cargo Chief and the market rates have been really helpful in my operation. And I trust the Cargo Chief and the market rates on this board than I do the others because they've been fairly spot on. So with that being said, strength for today, hope for tomorrow. And we'll see you Monday. And if not, we'll figure it out, right? So with that being said, peace. Drink coffee.